So I think the state of Eastern Europe is going to be not much difference in the NATO nations. Where the concern comes is in like Moldova, where they have already Russian fighters in Transnistria, and Transnistria is somewhat of a launching point for further operations into Moldova. With Moldova not being a NATO country, it's just a NATO partnership for peace country, similar to Ukraine was. It makes a NATO intervention unlikely. However, Moldova, Georgia, Bosnia-Herzegovina have all expressed interest in joining NATO, and I could see those taking place going forward. Finland may just be the first domino of the last of the European nations that aren't strictly neutral, such as Austria and Switzerland joining NATO. So that's one thing. Even if Russia loses this war in Ukraine, they will be no less dangerous. They may be weaker, but they will still be very dangerous. And it actually may make them more ambitious and more desperate for some sort of win, which is what Finland sees when they are trying to join NATO. They see a potentially more dangerous Russia coming down the pipeline after this, especially if Putin doesn't go anywhere. He will purge his nation in a Stalin-esque manner, which can be very concerning, especially if he becomes more desperate. So, additionally, it has galvanized Europe. And it doesn't, not necessarily just in physical force, which that has definitely happened. The funding has gone up. In 2014, only 4 European nations in NATO met their 2% obligation. That is now up to 10 nations as of like today, I guess. So that will be the bolstering of NATO forces. NATO forces will also be repositioned. Originally, NATO had been hesitant to bolster a lot of our forces into Poland or Romania or the Baltic nations because of their proximity to Russia. We were trying to be more responsible in allaying Russia's fears of NATO's posture in Eastern Europe. Well, no longer will that be a concern because Russia has made it clear those forces are necessary in that area. So we're going to see a lot more forces repositioned from Germany into Poland. And I don't even know if it's necessarily going to be a repositioning where Germany loses forces. It may just be we bolster Poland in a NATO capacity more heavily than we did originally in Germany. And that can go for we also have, I think, the Marine Corps is doing stuff heavily in Latvia and other militaries. I went to Riga, Latvia for a planning conference for stuff there. So those are the things that I see the biggest changes in the next year is bigger militaries, more funding, and non-NATO nations potentially trying to join.